Hi there, I'm Jessica, and I have a seven-figure academic coaching business that I've been building for the past decade. And today I'm here to share with you how I transitioned from selling my time to charging clients based on the value or the transformation I was providing. And hopefully, by giving my framework to you and talking through my experience, you'll be able to avoid some of the difficult lessons I had to learn early on. When I started building my coaching practice in, I don't know, 2015, 2016, I was charging $45 an hour. The way I came to decide that price point was I took the salary that I was making in the academy and I divided it by two because I was thinking I'll start billing 40 hours a week with clients, and that's what I'll charge in order to replace the salary I had left behind. I know, I was very fresh and green and naive. So after doing that for maybe about 6 months, I started to feel this resentment because on top of doing all of that billing, which I wasn't billing 40 hours a week right away, but I was after about 6 months, I started to feel resentment because it felt like my bank account was not matching the amount of time and energy I was putting into building my coaching practice. And I don't want that to happen to you. So what I did is I started talking to a few more experienced coaches who have been doing it for a long time and trying to learn from them. And what I quickly realized is that these coaches had a lot of clarity about the benefits, the value, the transformation they were providing. And even though I could communicate that to them, it wasn't something I had ever really written down and thought about attaching my price to. So the very first thing I did is I stopped pricing by the hour. And in order to do that, I sort of came up with this three-step framework, which I'm going to share with you now. The very first step in the framework is you need to get clear on the transformation you are providing. Whether you're an academic coach like me, a life coach, or a health coach, there is a transformation your client is looking for when they hire you. For me, my clients come to me because they're usually stuck in some aspect of the research process. It's either a PhD student who can't get past a certain stage of their project, or it could be an early career faculty member who's up for tenure and they're feeling imposter syndrome. These are the types of folks who come to me. And so getting clear on that transformation was important. And I had a few different types of clients. So I sort of developed these like personas for each of those and got really clear on at least two or three bulleted items that captured the transformation they were looking for and that I felt confident I could give them. The second part of the framework is defining what the journey looks like. This is the coaching container that those clients go into in order to reach that transformation. For some of my clients, the container was 3 months. That was the commitment they needed to make to get to the result they were looking for. But for other clients, like my more long term clients who wanted to meet consistently, and there wasn't a deadline in sight, this didn't really have a specific end date or 6 month or 12-month structure. It was a bit more open ended, but they were all still looking for a very similar type of result. And so I quickly decided to make that my more top tier package, and I'll explain why in a moment. So, getting clear on the container and the journey. And then once you do that, then you can assign the investment to it. That's the third step of this three-step framework. So, again, the first step of the framework is getting clear on what the transformation is. And there might be a few. The second step is getting clear on the journey, mapping out that journey, thinking through what does it look like? How long will it take? How frequently do we need to meet? What type of work is happening within this journey to meet the transformation that you've outlined in step one? And then assign a dollar amount. So I'll walk you through an example around how I got to the dollar amount, which is where most people struggle. In some cases, there might be an obvious investment value. So, for instance, I had some clients who came to me and it became really clear within a couple months of working with them that they were going to save money on tuition. Like my PhD students who would hire me, they were graduating faster. They would compare themselves to the students in their cohort and they would be like, I'm ahead. I'm a semester ahead. I'm 2 semesters ahead. And then I knew roughly what tuition was at that university. And so then I could create this really clear ROI. Like my coaching package is $3,000 and you're actually saving $8,000 with a semester in tuition. I did that math for them. Now, it wasn't always that straightforward. I did have some clients who were not paying tuition, but they were usually working towards some sort of career change, like a promotion. They were up for tenure or they were writing a grant. And there is a dollar amount associated with that up leveling in their career based on the amount of money that they're going to get paid once they get tenured or based on the amount of money that they're going to get from a grant. Those are the sorts of bits of information and data points I needed in order to get to that investment piece. So I encourage you to just sit and think about this. Think through the conversations you've had with your clients. If you have a great relationship with a few of your clients and you've been working with them for a while, bring them into the conversation and ask them about the transformation they've experienced so that you can start to use the words of your clients when you're communicating that value to them. Once you're clear on the investment, the next thing I want you to do is start to sketch out some packages. I encourage you to have more than one because clients like choices. It's good to give options. For me, I had three packages because I did kind of have like three different types of clients with slightly different containers. Like the amount of time they needed to commit to the work differed based on the transformation they were seeking. I had a package I called the starter package. That was the lowest tiered package with the shortest sort of commitment. It was also the most flexible. I then had a sort of middle tier package that I called the growth package. That was a longer term commitment. And then, of course, I had the highest tier package. And I intentionally associated that package with the type of clients I knew who would purchase it, which were often faculty who had stipends to support professional development, or they had grant dollars allocated toward consultants. And so they had a bit more of that dispensable income compared to the graduate students I was working with. So I had very clear rationales. And I think it's important for you to feel certain about why you're pricing something a certain way because then you're more likely to communicate that value confidently whenever you're pitching your packages. When you actually sit down to communicate that value to a prospective client, communicate the value, recommend a package that you think makes sense for them based off of your initial conversation, and then sit back. And I think it's important to let the silence do the work. Because if you're talking nervously or you're chattering because you're not comfortable with the silence, sometimes that nervous energy can be interpreted as uncertainty or a lack of confidence. And you don't want that to come through when you're communicating with a client. You need to feel good about the value that you know you can deliver and what you're worth based on the transformation you are providing. And so finally, I do want to mention Zoe. Zoe is an all in one coaching platform. I found Zoe years ago when I was actually looking for a solution because I was like stitching together all these different softwares. I was using Zapier to connect Zoom with Gmail and then my billing software and my scheduling software, and it was a mess. And Zoe was developed by Nicole Lowe, and she had the idea of I don't want coaches to have 7 different subscriptions. I want them to work on their business and do what they do best by supporting their clients and let Zoe manage all the admin for you. So check Zoe out and hopefully this advice was helpful. Feel free to leave a comment and please subscribe to the channel.